Hello, I'm Mark Hall-Patton. I want to welcome you to the Clark County Museum. You know, here we have, of course, Heritage Street, and behind me we have one of the first houses that you come to on Heritage Street. This is the Townsite house. The Townsite house was one of the original houses that was built in Henderson, Nevada. The Townsite houses were actually made to be demountable. That means that they were made to be brought in, very quickly set up between 1942 and 1943, and then at the end of the war they were going to be torn down and taken away. Henderson wasn't supposed to exist. It was a short-term housing settlement just for the factory here, and then it was going to go away. Unfortunately, they didn't tell the residents that they were supposed to go away, and Henderson never did. It's now the second largest city in the state. But in order to be able to talk about that period of our history, when this house became available, it was given to the museum. It was moved out here in 1982. It was restored thanks to, among other people, the Clark County Museum Guild, and opened in 1985. This is the 3-bedroom variety, so let's take a look inside. We've redone the interior again. We always do that, so whenever you come out here, you'll see some changes. So come on inside and let's take a look at what life was like here during World War II. Okay, when you first come into the house, of course, you come into the living room. Now we've got the boys in the living room. They're playing with their cap guns right now. And as you come in, depending on what time of the year, you'll see the family in different parts of the house. Now, because this one, normally this would have been the porch of the house. When we got it, it was already enclosed. So this is the interpretive area of the house. It talks about World War II. It talks about what was going on at the plants here. This was the basic magnesium plant. And so they were making magnesium here. The plant basically closed down at the end of 1944. And much of Henderson did leave. Most of the residents did, about 2/3 of them, but not everyone. We also had a large influx of African American residents here. They were a big part of the workers here. They lived in Carver Park, and that was a big part of the workers in this area. You can see an overview of Henderson at that time, but we talk about what life was like here during the war, what it was like being here at the training base as well. All of this was part of living here in the valley during World War II. Even the Victory Garden, we have one of those outside. We'll take a look at that. But when you were living here, you didn't have a lot of space in the house. Even though this was a 3-bedroom house, this was all the space that you had for the kitchen. You were supposed to have your table in there, and yes, you did have your table in there, but many of the families, if they had a 3-bedroom house, they might very well have done like this one did, and took one of the bedrooms and turned it into the dining area. And here you see that Dad and the older boy are getting ready to take off on a trip. They've got the camera out there, getting everything set up, and Mom is back here getting the baby changed. You can see now in World War II, you didn't have disposable diapers, but everything is set up just as it would have been in World War II. And the boys' room back here, you didn't get your own room at that time, but you can see this is not a lot of space, and this is a 3-bedroom house. But these houses were absolutely clear redwood. There's not a knot anywhere in the redwood in here. It had 1/4-inch plywood over the redwood, and these are still throughout Henderson today in downtown Henderson. This particular house was originally at 302 West Basic, and it was then moved out here. It was restored, and we presented as it was in World War II. So when you come out to the museum, you can see how people lived during World War II in the Vegas Valley, in the Henderson area. And of course, you might not think about one of the things that you have to do at some museums, but here we even have to weed every year and have to replant because we have a Victory Garden as part of this part of our displays. This is the Victory Garden. It's replanted every year, and it is weeded, and it does grow. But it is part of our interpretation, so you can come out and see how people lived here in the valley in World War II. This is just part of the interpretation. We have 30 acres here. Remember, we are only open 7 days a week. It is $2 to come through. We are open 9 to 4:30, 7 days a week. Come on down and see us. Remember, if you're like me and over 55 or you're under 18, it's only $1. So I hope you'll come out and visit us.